Starting as a new player in Warframe can be a daunting task. There's a huge system of planets to explore, tons of different Warframes to master, and countless weapons to level up and become familiar with. What's going on, everyone? I'm BouseFeenux, and today I wanted to make your journey and time spent in Warframe a little easier with a few quick tips to sort of set you off on the right foot. As you may have noticed in the title, this is part 1 of a 2-part series. I've divided them up because I don't want to put too much information into one video. Now, no single one of these tips will make you a master at the game right off the bat. Knowing Warframe on a deeper level comes with time and experience, and to be honest, I'm still learning stuff every day in this game, even after 2 years of playing it. With that being said though, the tips that follow can help ease some of the frustration of getting started and prevent you from making some beginner's mistakes that could set you back in the long run. Let's get started. Jumping right in, tip number 1 is to spend your starting platinum on Warframe and weapon slots. When you start a new Warframe account, you'll receive a small starting sum of platinum. This is the game's hard currency, or currency that is bought with real-life money. This starting platinum is probably the most valuable thing you'll have on your account for a long time, and it's important to use it well. Now, I know weapon and Warframe slots aren't exactly the most exciting thing, but if you want to expand your collection and be more versatile off the bat, you'll need these slots to store your gear. Without them, your new shiny toys will have to sit in the foundry unable to be used. Don't fret about spending this platinum though, because as you progress in the game, you can earn more platinum later. Tip number 2 is do every quest you possibly can. Now, I know this may sound like common sense, but as you can see, even I've skipped a few of them, and a lot of other players do as well. Warframe isn't really a questing game per se, and I think this is where a lot of players get lost, but the few quests that you will see are extremely important to do. They unlock things like new Warframes and Kubros, which are a powerful companion you'll want to have later on in the game. Also, a certain quest unlocks a very important game mechanic called Focus that allows you to add great utility to your Warframes, and you don't want to miss out on that. Thankfully though, since the most recent change to the star chart, a lot of these quests are rewarded for completing junctions, so you don't have to worry about missing out on anything too important. Tip number 3 is don't level broken mods. Broken mods are something you'll encounter very early in the game, and wasting your precious fusion cores on them is something I highly advise against. Like the questing though, you'd think this would be common sense, but I hear about new players doing this all the time. If it makes you feel better, even I did this when I started playing. Personally, I think broken mods should be removed from the game entirely, but we haven't seen that change yet. If you come across any of these broken mods though, don't waste your fusion cores on them. You can equip them for their small bonuses, but wait until you get the non-broken counterparts to level them up. If you've already leveled some of these, don't fret, as fusion cores aren't terribly difficult to get a hold of, but you'll want to stockpile as many of them as possible. On the topic of mods, let's get into tip number 4, which is to find a Serration mod, which increases damage for most primary weapons excluding shotguns, a Vitality mod, which increases the health pool of your Warframe, and an Intensify mod, which increases the power strength of your Warframe, and start putting as many cores into them as you can early on. These 3 mods aren't exactly the best mods in Warframe, but they're important to have, and they'll make up the base of a lot of your Warframe and primary weapon builds even into late game. The Vitality and Serration mods are both rank 10, which means they'll take tons of fusion cores to level up, but it'll be worth it to have these 2 at max rank later in the game, and it's something to work towards as well. Our last tip for part 1 of this mini-series, tip number 5, is don't sell any weapons or Warframe until they're at least rank 30. Now, ideally, you wouldn't want to sell anything because A, Warframe is pretty much a game about collecting things, and B, you'll use a lot of the early weapons you get to build other weapons later on. Most importantly though, you'll want to level everything you get your hands on to level 30, because that gives you the max amount of mastery rank points. We'll talk about mastery rank in the next part of this series, but for now, you need to know that mastery rank unlocks many things in the game for you, and nothing is worse than having to go back and remake old weapons and Warframes just to get the mastery rank points from leveling them. And that just about does it for part 1 of quick tips for new player success in Warframe. I'm going to work on putting part 2 out pretty much the day after this, so don't worry about that. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video or found it to be helpful, consider supporting it with a like down below and maybe sharing it with your friends. It's super helpful and does a lot here for me on YouTube. Secondly, if you're new here, consider subscribing. If I get enough subscribers, maybe we can all work together to bring Harambe back from the dead. Anyway, I'm BouseFeenux. I'll see you guys in the next video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.